Were you a fitness enthusiast and somehow along the way you dropped off, life happened, you know? Either you got a child, a baby, and you're fortunate to have mothers here that tell us your story, and you know, you were doing very well, and along the way you no longer went back to it, you know, just making sure that you're fit and what have you. You got an injury. It happens. You know, you get hurt and you're like, now you have a very good excuse, in quotes, of not working out. You know, you just got bored. Maybe moved places, moved locations, moved careers, and one or the other, you just fell off the bandwagon. So today we want to address that big elephant in the room today. How do I get back? You know, and I know for some, the farthest they've gone, it's just a dream. It's just they dream of themselves running. Yes. They can even see themselves running in the estate, you know.
And they wake up panting.
Panting, isn't it? And it was happening, you know, over the dream. And they've never taken any action. So how do they start? How do you get back to it as a young person, as a Gen Z, or as an elderly person? How do we go about this whole issue?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting discussion, and especially being the beginning of a new year and, you know, with resolutions and all that. Yeah. I wonder how many of us, after we write them down at the beginning of the year, come back, you know, or go ticking off and say, yes, I've done this and I've done that, or I'm consistent at this, because we talk about consistency. But I hope that one of the goals that maybe I know I will have that will be to stay fit and to make sure that I'm working towards it. But I think for me, one of the ways of just making sure that I get back, or for those who have never started especially, is to just kill that procrastination, because I think procrastination is the worst enemy that you can ever have, you know.
I agree.
Saying that tomorrow I will do this, or tomorrow I will start, tomorrow I will jog. Then when you get to, if today is Monday, you say tomorrow I'll do it, come Tuesday, you say, no, there's still Wednesday, you know. If you keep doing that procrastinating, you will never start. So I would say the time to start would be today and now, you know. Yeah, do whatever you can and start moving. Yes.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's true. And just as you're saying, tomorrow never comes, you know. And then especially once the week has started and you're halfway, then you're like, next week. Or the month has started and you're halfway, it's next month. You know, so I think because it's at the beginning of the year, you know, let's be intentional about it. Put it as a priority, up there, you know, not down here, up there, and plan yourself on how you're going to make it succeed. You know, it's one thing to say, I will start, but then the how is another story. Yeah, so if you just write it down, or you have it in your mind and say, I want to get back to exercising, or I want to start exercising, but you don't think through the how, it will still be a goal in a month to come or a year to come. You know, so I think it's, how are you going to do it? So do you want to go to the gym? Do you want to go swimming? Do you want to go walking? You know, what time do you want to do that? For how long? You know, look at your schedule and see, how do I work it around to ensure that I'm able to do this? Is it 3 times a week? You know, is it 5 times a week? What exactly is it? So don't just put it as a goal and leave it there, but look through the details to ensure that you succeed in doing it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So it's make it primary. It shouldn't be a by the way or a secondary bit in your life. It's an essential aspect. And I can tell you, for us here, even as believers, the same way we are intentional about building our spiritual lives is the same way we need to be intentional on taking care of our bodies and making sure we are moving. I recall a few years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I had an injury. I was playing football and it was in Romania, where I was serving in Eastern Europe. And I was given a good challenge. It was there was no referee, but I think that must have been a red card. And if it was a real football, that person should have been fined properly. So I was swept. I didn't know I was flying. You know those times when you're in the air, you think you're running, but kumbe I was in the air. And unfortunately, when I landed on my hand. And I broke this part. You can imagine. I literally broke this part, and I saw the bone just pop out. and it was painful. Those are those moments when you cry and feel so much pain until the pain no longer painful, you know.
Yeah.
And after that, I for a few, like 1 or 2 weeks, definitely I went for the procedure and what have you, and for like 2 weeks I was there. But because I knew it was so important for me to work out, I had to do something. I knew anything to do with carrying weights or doing something, I could not do that.
Yeah.
All right. But I noticed I could walk on the treadmill. I could run, on the treadmill. And I recall one time guys in the gym wondering, hey, this is craziness. I mean, at this point you should be seated, recuperating. But I felt the need, so I decided to do something that I would still do even in my situation and in my context. And I believe even for the viewers out there, it's possible that you've experienced an injury, and maybe it would be good to hear from Evelyn, because she's also been down that path. It's possible for you to go through something, but you have to ask yourself, what can I do in this season that I am in?
Yeah, exactly. I think just as you've shared, with your story with an injury, I mean, we talked about life happening, and life happens. Today you can be up and around and you think everything is all good, and the next moment you're told you need surgery and you need it soon.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me, like in May. So I was told I need surgery. So I had to have surgery in June. So I had surgery in June, and thankfully it went well. I mean, it was a major surgery because I think I was in there for over 4 hours. But then after that, I needed to get back up, Thankfully, I was out of hospital in 2 days, and for the first 2 weeks, I had to stay at home, of course. But by the end of week 1, I think I sat on the couch like for 2 days, and I just said, I can't do this anymore. So I stood up, I would walk around because luckily it was on my upper body, so I would be able to, I would walk around, go up the stairs, come down. After some point, I realized I can still do my brisk walking. So I started doing my brisk walking, and I'd only avoid my left side. And I would walk, and I make sure I'm really moving all the other parts. And that really worked for me. And I think one of the things that we like to wallow in is like self-pity. So you think, oh, I've gone through this surgery. I'm going to take months to recover. Or I'm going through this treatment. I can't be able to do this. No, there's always something that you can be able to do. And I think one of the things that I realized was also, if you listen a lot to especially people around you, they're like, hey, no, you've just had surgery, you can't lift with your hand, you can't do what? And it's like, listen, I know my body, I can lift. I know I couldn't carry because before I would even do my 6, like 3 kgs in, using my left hand. But I had to get back, and I realized, okay, I can't do the 6 kgs, but in my house I'm lucky because we have what we call the Dyna bands. I have a very light one. I have a loop band, a very light one. So I started working with that gradually, even as my wound continued healing. And with time now, I also went back to weights, and then I actually went back to 1 kg,
Wow.
So it was a challenge of thinking, okay, this hand I can only do 1 kg. The other hand I'm feeling if I touch 1 kg, I feel like it's a feather. But I still have to balance and all that, But now, thankfully, I'm back. I can be able to do my, my 3 kgs, 4 kgs and all that. But then it has to be gradual, and then I had to be intentional, I don't sit there and say, oh, I'm feeling pain, I can't do this, It's like machines. I like the concept of machines. If you don't work it, it will just, get spoiled, rust and all that. And the moment something is rusty, it's never gonna work. And it's the same way with our bodies. If you don't move these muscles, if you don't keep moving your body, soon you'll just discover you cannot get up. And I think that's the whole concept, like physiotherapists use. They'll tell you, what, you have to move this leg, and they will push you, and they'll tell you, no, we have to walk, you have to get up. And sometimes it's so painful, but if you have to get somewhere, you have to get up and start.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. I think also just to add on to that, you see, when we're getting back, we expect to get back at the level we were at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Which is not a possibility, because maybe, like Evelyn has said, you're lifting those 6 kilos and that's what you're used to. But then if you are getting back and you've been off for a while, that 6 kilos will be like,
I know,
30 kilos.
I know. But believe me, Kathy, it's frustrating when you are doing that and then you're going back to 1.
But you see, we just need to go back, and then build up again. So I think that's something important just to say, don't feel like this is where I was and I have to go back there. So start gradually. And I think for me, my story would be like even the times that you're pregnant, you know, you've been working out consistently, then the pregnancy season, and then after the baby, you know, then how do you get back, you know?
And just on the same point,
Yeah.
I don't know, and both of you are fortunate to have brought amazing, I don't want to call them boys and girls. Amazing children, you know, and adults and young adults in this world. What happens? What happens when somebody is there just about, you know, they get pregnant and suddenly guys are eating and you're wondering, hey, the meat is out there that we watch our cooler, they are eating for 2 people, you know, and that trend continues even after the child is born. I don't know. Maybe you can share your story and tell us how did you overcome that, or are you one of them who are busy consuming 20 liters of fermented porridge, you know, after every 30 minutes? I don't know.
I think for me, I was fortunate enough. That's one of the things my doctor took me through, because it's one of those myths. Oh, now you're pregnant, you're eating for 2, you know. But you're like, no, eat as you are eating. God created our bodies in such a way that whatever we eat, the baby gets.
Wow.
You know, so you don't have to feel like, okay, so I was eating this much, now I have to eat double. You know, so you just continue your life as normal.
Wow.
You know, you just continue as
so it's
is.
A myth.
It is a myth. It is a myth. It is. Yeah. So just to continue as normal. Yes, at times you may feel hungry. And even after, you may feel that hunger, but it could be that you're just thirsty for water. So remember, even with the breastfeeding and after the baby, the water still counts as your fluid intake, because that's what you need to take in. So it doesn't have to be that 20 liter of porridge per se. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So not eat for 2, just eat for
1.
eat for yourself, which is
and
very
I think
important.
also just stick to what you have planned for yourself and believe, because I think especially when you live with, or you bring relatives around and maybe you've had the baby and they've come to see the baby, you know, they'll fill your table with everything and you're told, no, you must eat, especially if it's your mom. Hey, there's no you're not eating when your mom is there, you know. It's like, no, you have to eat, the baby needs this food, you know, and all that. So I think you also have to remember that it's all about you, and also just make the people around you aware. I think when you just get the difference, because sometimes, like for my last baby, I had a lot of nauseated and all that, and I couldn't eat much. And then after I had the baby, I was being told, no, you have to eat. And let me say I ate a bit, not so much, but I ate a bit. And then I realized I was actually gaining a lot of weight. The moment I stopped, 2 months later, I looked so different, you know, unbelievably different.
Wow.
And I was looking, in fact, sometimes I look at the photos, you know, like 2 months, you know, difference. And I look at the photos, I'm like, what was really happening here? And, you know, just that change of, I realized, yes, I have to really cut it down. And I still had, like Kathy said, when I cut that down, I still had lots and lots of milk, you know. Yeah, so I think it's just all about knowing, yes, whatever I take in is just going and getting deposited in my body. And by, as Kathy said, the baby is still getting what the baby needs, so long as you're eating, you know, taking in all the nutrients in the right quantities.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope we've had, you know, that advice from experience. So if it was me saying that, definitely I have no authority whatsoever. But it's really amazing to hear from the experience. And no matter your excuse or, you know, the reason as to why you fell off the bandwagon, and it's very possible you've never been on that journey before of just ensuring that I'm doing some form of activity to ensure that my body is in motion. I tend to believe that, you know, we can make it happen. We can make it happen. And I'd like to invite you, why don't you go ahead as a sign of commitment, isn't it? Just go ahead and type and just indicate something that you're committing to do, and especially this new year. As you said earlier on, I mean, there are people who, it's not a big deal in terms of the New Year's resolution. Some people it's a big deal. But for now, let's put aside that debate. So just, you know, on the comment section, go ahead and type and say, what are you committing to do, you know, just to ensure that you're keeping fit in this specific season. One of the things I love about God is that God is a master planner. I mean, when you read the scriptures right from the book of Genesis all the way to the book of Revelation, God is a master planner. And I can tell you this, that if God is a master planner, now that God is a master planner, you and I need to plan of our lives. And we need to be deliberate, we need to be intentional. The same way, and I believe we keep on saying that on this specific channel, whatever platform you're watching us from, that we need to be intentional with our spiritual walk. We're also here to tell you, you've got to be intentional with your health. You've got to be intentional with your fitness, so that we can be able to glorify God with these bodies that the Lord has given to us. Feel free to ask any questions, feel free to comment, and we will be right here to get back to you. God bless you. Goodbye for now.